Have adios.
Okay, welcome everybody to the first of our March meetings. Yes, it is the first of our March meetings. We are in full countdown mode.
I've got one quick thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Who wants to sign into the meeting? Do not do so yet. It's updating. I will announce when it's good to go.
Oh, we did it before.
Yeah.
Then you signed in for your last meeting.
Congrats.
Yes.
We are 27 days away from the opening of Detour. Lots of us will be on site Wednesday, various points in time. But 27 days until the opening on Friday. Yeah, we'll have a lot of different various things to go over. There's probably not much in the way of Matt.
You can sign in now.
You can sign in now. We'll kind of go over a lot of stuff with department updates and what they are. Some departments are in final cleanup mode. Some are done. Some are waiting to get to con. We don't typically bring stuff to the high just yet.
We got a week.
Yeah. Sometimes, maybe we'll always sneak in there at a time. Kristen, do you have stuff from ACC board updates?
We have absolutely nothing new since the last planning meeting.
Excellent. The next board meeting is
Tuesday
yes,
in 3 days.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, Tuesday.
Tuesday, 6:30.
Determining sign in.
Then we'll move on to if you guys have any, let me see. Kristen and Julian's comments. Anything significant from tech, Tristan?
I have to check in with a number of staff. I've been emailing them to try to get our staff schedule finalized by today at the latest. There's about 5 or 6 people I haven't heard from, so I'm going to be either texting or emailing them individually because I want to get that finalized here within the next 48 hours, hopefully. Otherwise, I'm going to be going to the locker to fiddle with some other stuff. And then I had other questions for you guys later.
Okay. And then if you guys have any departments that are here or not here, for the department heads, let us know that you need to speak to them. It gets it out onto the meeting in case they're watching. And also lets the vice chairs know that we can kind of help coordinate that, or whether they can. We didn't. I didn't see anything from IT. JC, do you have anything from programming?
Panel or schedule is basically me. I've got 2 themes and 2 choreographed, but we're all on schedule. We're just adjusting the last minute circulations, which unfortunately we've gotten them. One group is banned, but most get local.
Okay. Well, I mean, the schedule being done. I'm more excited about I'm always excited about the programming bit. James, registration.
Yes, registration is now closed. As of noon, we are at 5:52. The person freaked me out. Not gonna lie. I'm now going to start the bench party, and I'm now going to end the party. Thank you all for listening.
Doesn't know.
Get up.
Harassing.
No.
So we actually, instead of doing that in-person badging and badge printing, if anyone doesn't know, because we didn't actually post like a big broad fancy announcement, it was a monetarily sequence change that we were able to make based on external printing through like Durant cards.
Yeah.
The benefits of that is that we're going to save a lot of money for our convention, and going forward, this will streamline part of our process. So we're working on just importing databases and exporting databases. instead of this manual 12-hour printing process or more. So super exciting, super cool. We're really excited for what this is going to look like for the future of our con and the future of what this will look like for the attendees. So fingers crossed everything goes great for the actual application of this.
Yeah, and we feel like, an additional portion of that is that it'll also have some expediency to how that interacts with the guest portion of things when they're doing walk-ups and things like that. So a lot of positives there. Not the only reason we pivoted, but a lot of it was, like Brittany said, based on cost or the amount of time
Well,
to.
people labor hours. It's down to like other cons have contracted out and exported a lot of the work that they do. And it's not necessarily about just the people power. Some of that has to do with cost, some of that has to do with on-board experience. If we can do it ourselves, we're going to try.
Right.
But like when it comes to something like this, the amount of time, the amount of commitment that was necessary for so many parties, it just wasn't worth the investment to us. So that's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah.
I think we're in the same one.
Basically, the cost of the printing supplies for the new printers versus the cost of, on the old printers on the 7 series, they were in the neighborhood of being the same as far as doing in-house printing and having a company outside of us do it. With the upgrade to the Series 9 printers, it was around the neighborhood of triple the cost of the previous printing supplies. So it's even cheaper to do it if someone else is doing it for us.
You know, print just some blank ones for walk-up people, certain number of child. And
Yeah, yeah.
Our current running plan for that is to do transparent labeling on these, so we can kind of still print those custom badge titles because people are really into that in terms of the identity of their badging.
Yeah.
However, like we have to account for the fact that people will be signing up at cons, so we have to have a resource and a way to accommodate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, truthfully, for like
Exactly.
we're still going to need some of those. Right? Like
Well, no, this is Tristan asking me about the zebra. So I can get rid of that.
we're still going to need to get some zebra supplies.
We just won't need them for.
We just need
Yes.
back
Back when me and I were at the lock, I tried to get our contact for it. That's all.
Yeah.
And one initiative we're probably going to be doing is obviously we're gonna have like the blank generic badges. Basically, we're gonna use like clear or like label printers. There's your badge name. There's your badge number. Like steam things and you can like scan way down the printer with the laptop. It's just we can process people. We don't have line counting.
Right.
Hopefully going forward in the future too, depending on what investments we make for con advancement for next year. Some of the softwares that other cons use for their event management systems, they handle the badging as well.
Yeah.
So in the future, those databases won't have to go through 12 steps of merger, 12 steps of upload, 12 steps of data processing to get this content in there. It will be preloaded and accessible in the future, hopefully.
Right. Didn't see an update from cosplay.
For registration stuff, how much am getting registered? I'm saying this is the head of registration. I know, fully ironic.
We've talked about this. We're going to go through a vetting and then take all of those and move them into the old system.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's where the data management comes in, is like, yes, the staff are already in Eventany, but we have to do that for vendors, for artists, for sponsors.
Right.
So we're taking on kind of like some of that load this weekend, Kristen and I, to make sure all of that stuff gets entered and transferred over, to make sure those all get printed properly with the correct companies and
That
stuff.
was my question to him because I didn't know how you were gonna get my badge name, because I don't remember entering that in the event.
Yeah,
Right. In basically, it would have been, if it hadn't been a field that we had populated within event name, it would have been easier to have done that from the start, but we did not.
that's
Right,
right.
he gave me a different method, so
Right.
hopefully it comes out right.
Yeah. So.
You register on the vetting?
Well, I mean, they're actually,
Let's see if we have to transport the staff badges on site. It's not gonna be that hard.
There's not that many
Yeah.
of them.
It's like 200 meters.
You know.
Yeah, that's 90 minutes.
We can have people.
If there's many, I mean, so if we had.
Add an option to Eventany too, everyone can go in and event. To like put a specific badge name in, because that's something we can easily add as another questionnaire option, where then we can have it pre-printed and authorized.
Right.
But I don't have the admin access to that. I think Kristen does for adding that back in, but
Either way,
Yeah.
so I'm not concerned about
It's not missing from our list of to-do things. Make sure that you guys make sure that you guys have the name on your badge that you. Well, then you're set either way. But if Tristan doesn't have Trisket on his badge, he gets very grumpy.
Grumpy.
no, maybe weekends.
No.
Sun chips. Is anything from cosplay? Christina, what do you have from guest relations?
All the flights have been booked.
Excellent.
Which is true.
Oh my God.
All the programming is in. Let's see, what else? Now I'm working on gonna start with green room. I need to start calling restaurants for what's gonna be open on Easter Sunday.
Fair point.
I'll take care of the local.
I know the Nicola Diner is. I know Luce is
Do
closed.
we know about Sushi Train?
No, I don't know if we maybe look it up if they
There's
have
no breaks on that train.
if they have hours.
I mean, I can take care of that because I know the owner and I know a lot of people that on Nicolet since I've worked Nicolet for like all my life. So
Knowing what food options we have and putting it on like an accessible document.
Yeah, like
And
we have.
warning the companies that there's.
Yes,
big
warning
event.
We did last year and they still ran out of food. At least I think Chipotle and Chicken John's ran out of food.
Actually, they had to stop serving
Wow.
breakfast early.
Yeah, they ran Jimmy John's and Chipotle, I think, ran out of food before the weekend.
send them a letter.
Last one.
Send them a letter every week. We're gonna have 10,000 people here this weekend playing.
Well, I have their email to keep in contact with. Yeah, I'll reach out.
Cause I'm still trying to, I gotta figure out who I'm gonna order from for the party for the birthday bash on Sunday night for the Acme.
Tura had a question in chat.
We can come visit. We can stop in.
Well, she's asking if she wants to pick her up the badges for the years to get them to them. Yeah, we're Arturo, you sent us that doc this weekend. You'll still be able to coordinate with James to set up a pickup time because we still don't know what the shipment time is yet for
Right.
Puricard badges. So once we know the
You
shipment
must speak
time,
up.
once we know the shipment time from Duracard, this is my high volume. This is
Dirt carts are around time like a week. And
we're looking at really short turnaround time then.
yeah,
Okay.
I lost my train of thought. I see Jeff is here. Jeff is here to yell at us for all the things we don't have in.
Christine.
Do we have room parties this year? We do. I have some thing on room parties. Do you okay?
Listen, just what rooms and what party they're in which room?
Yeah.
For description.
I can talk about probably what has created that delay. So
That's what I'm looking for.
yes, okay.
And also, video games we have nothing on.
Yes, on the video games, I know that he had submitted what, do you want to talk about training?
Yeah, we I have a meeting that I'm setting up with Ton sometime this weekend. Due to whether he was not able to make it here because he is coming up from Rochester. Listen, scare weather, listen.
Not
St.
all of us
Cloud.
are crazy enough to go stand outside of a snowstorm.
Wild, okay? So he did say that he has the schedule established. He's waiting for a couple more tournament organizers, but I think generally we have the content for that. He had a couple questions that I have to work through with him, but we'll get that to you. A lot of that content is happening this weekend. Was that cut off Monday for most of the content?
Well, I see Sherry's finishing up this weekend outside of used to be represented.
Yeah.
We're gonna spend more time. So sooner. As long as
Sounds good. Yeah, she was in the email that me and Tom were responding to, so I believe that's one of the extension prerequisites here. So
Yeah, I know that he had submitted a list of the tournaments he was intending to run. He didn't yet have,
so yeah,
he didn't have the times yet. So what we had suggested is make sure he gets in what we're gonna run And worst case scenario, if we have to put out the times on social media, then that's the best we can do for this year with just the way things are lining up time wise. Did you have anything else that themes related, Jeff?
Just that, right now we're kind of moving on to a lot of signage and other things that
Okay.
can be done before this mission.
Okay.
Exciting.
So, well,
Oh my gosh, Tommy's here.
that's what I said. I told you I saw him.
Just talking about you.
I said that I saw you walk by,
Yeah.
and then Brittany lied. You didn't believe me. Then she lied to the room and said, "Okay, cool." Then she lied and said Tom couldn't make it and said that you weren't doing your job.
Check the messages this morning.
Okay.
That's fine.
We were just Jeff.
Brittany? Brittany? Answer?
Yep.
We're like an hour or two ago.
Jim from Themes was just asking about like video game content for the guide, and we were explaining like that you'd submitted the tournaments that you were gonna run. We were still waiting on hopefully getting the times in there. If not, we would do the times on social media. Did you have any other updates on any video game related stuff that you wanted to shout out?
Yeah, so a lot of that is actually almost done and was given a deadline from Deems, actually the 15th.
Okay, I just wanted to see if you had, and we were kind of speaking for you. I didn't know if you had any other stuff you wanted to talk about as far as video games stuff.
Um,
Or if you want me to circle back to you, that's fine.
yeah, you circle back.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Right, we grab chairs.
No, go ahead.
I'm just being started out to go.
So, room parties. There is going to be a change, at least for this year. We're going to mitigate it the best we can, and then we will have to see what we can do post convention. Currently, where we are at, as of was it yesterday? They're all one together into swearing. Currently, there is not going to be tip jars or donations allowed in the room parties rooms. So obviously that changes a lot for room parties, particularly for our hosts and how they mitigate the costs of their parties. All of that is not lost on us in particularly at this late date. That is something that the Hyatt is doing across all of their conventions that they hold, based on some conventions not adhering to their hospitality, which is what they call the rooms when their room party is a hospitality room. That at some events they had menus posted with pricing, things like that. So they just made a blanket edict that, well, this does not happen anymore then, and they don't have to worry about which convention is doing it, which isn't. Just now nobody does it. Yes. How dumb can you be?
I know.
I'm sure
Sorry, no.
Here's my question.
for good purposes in a room, that's prostitution.
Not the point, Eric. Not quite.
Well, I was sort of my question was, I'm assuming they're going to say the same thing if people decide to get smart around the rules and post, say, a QR code to their Cash App.
That's fine.
What I can say on our streamed and posted meeting is that we will adhere to all our contracted rules with our hotel partner, and explain them in depth to all of our room folks and expect them to adhere to them 100%.
Did they say they can't have like a Kickstarter?
They did not say that explicitly.
You guys would just the website and hey,
They did say donations, and I would imagine that if we tried to drill deep into that, they would probably expect that it would cover donation sites, etc.
Forgiveness rather than permission to try.
Complications. We're a nonprofit. And we do take, in the past, we have taken donations for other events, other historical things. And this being like an excluded space from being able to accept donations, our event in terms of like our ability, since Detour hosted a room party at Detour, that was to promote specifically like some kind of relief effort, right? Like this complicates our relationship. So we will be like talking to the hotel and asking what some of these stipulations look like, asking what some of these exceptions look like. Yeah, because some of these organizations.
Well, I could talk to you
Giving more
about that
information.
particular group, because,
I was gonna say, I just heard they're gonna be there this year.
well, you could talk to you about that particular group.
I thought none of the room parties could serve food was what we established last year.
Well,
They've been tightened in that dial. Let's just put it that
right.
way.
Ultimately, even though, I mean, the hotel is our partner, we do have to, adhere to their contractual restrictions. We don't have a lot of, we can explain our positions as we did that, it's not only not purely historical with us, but it's basically a programming track with us. It's something that our attendees look forward to. It's a unique aspect of Detour, so it is something that does draw a portion of our attendance. So there is a significant impact to us. So if there's a way that we can, rather than just cut that off, if there's a way that we can circle back to the table and have some conversations about what we can do to kind of manage that, keep it, maybe adjust some things, that would be our preference. So if we can get the hotel kind of back to the table on that.
Donating like content or something else to rooms. Someone was asking about Uncle Iroh's Tea House. In the past, they've been donated tea. Do we know if the stipulations of the contract yet are
I
only?
think it was intending,
Try. I think I found the bargaining chip or the thing we want in exchange for those escalators being down.
that's the next, that's the second elephant holding on to the tail of this elephant. This is purely monetary at this stage, and so I think what we're trying to do is trying to work within the confines of this so that it doesn't lead to a full-on closure of room parties as a whole. We do have a few options that we're trying to consider with this now, whether we'll be able to implement them for this year. Not really, well, we're not sure. What I'd like to do is work with the Hyatt and see if there's something that we can do as far as have our world party hosts sign some additional waiver that they would agree not to do this upon, their room party maybe being closed down, or that they wouldn't be able to host a room party in the future. Again, that might not be something that they're agreeable to for this year. So we may have to most likely work with these restrictions this year. An additional option that we will look at how to make work. Obviously, this is not something that we'll be able to do for this year, is looking at how we might be able to move room parties potentially to the Millennium and what that might look like. So,
and we've discussed expanding to those hotels a little bit as well. So this is just another opportunity to see what this means for like the growth of Detour.
yeah, so trying to figure out how to continue to make room parties work in the best fashion that we can under whatever rules they might be, whether it's within the Hyatt or across the way at the Millennium. But this was just something that happened yesterday, so
Literally.
here we are. Yeah, so here we go. It's done.
This going to be passed along to those.
They're aware as of yesterday, which is why most likely they have not gotten the information to Jeff, because they needed to get the debt removal forms from their party hosts, which then would have solidified, confirmed their room partiness. That information would have gotten to Jeff. So now they sort of need to establish if that is a what's the word I'm looking for? Yes, deal breaker. Basically, is that are they willing to take that on now, since this is a new stipulation? So it may alter the numbers this year, which is really unfortunate. But it is not something that we wanted, invited, or really happy with. But that's like I said, this was our day yesterday. So, yeah, we're continuing to work with that to see what it will look like in the future. Like I said, I don't know that there's much we'll be doing this year. Similarly, we did have our meeting, those that were in attendance at our last staff meeting, the elephant in that room, we named escalator. We did have our meeting with the Hyatt after that meeting, as things were up in the air as to whether or not we would have escalators. It is confirmed that we don't. So there's that good news. We will have an escalator from floor 1 until 2, not times, but from floor 1 until 2. After that, yes.
We have opened up the second block of elevators. So those of you who have a history with Detour in terms of utilizing the secondary elevators and the stairs that they usually have closed off altogether, they are opening that up for use. They have given us app signage to account for this that we are going to forward and put on our social media for AppCon. Basically, they've done a limited amount of damage control in which now we have to pick up the pieces.
I mean, essentially, and it's not necessarily defense of that they have done the damage control that they can do within the limits of the structure. I mean, they've opened up the stairwells that they can, that they have, and they have shifted the passenger elevators for the guest rooms to being all access. So you won't need, the room card to access those. Probably, I mean, obviously, except for at least the 22nd floor, since that is locked out. But yes, they will most likely, well, there will not be escalators from 2 to 3, 3 to 4. There may be, I guess there's a slight possibility of one of the escalators, I think, going from 2 to 3, but we may not want to count on that. We were told right before the meeting last time.
It's another thing we were told to
Yeah. We went into the conversation with them to see how possible it might be to not do event. The construction started in January, and will go until June. So it had already started prior to us finding out prior to us having the meeting. So I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it is something that has happened to us, and it is something that we are doing everything we can. I mean, all of us as a we, to manage and mitigate, and we will do what Detour has done for 20 years and do our best. That is where it's at. I guess
Should we make a post on that?
we don't. And then I have dated maps too for themes that where some different colors of about go to here, go to there. Do not go to here because it's giant hole.
Could we theme that with since it's like the negative and detour this year where it's very evil. That we took away your escalators.
Wait. That's not time, relative time.
If you can be certain that it didn't come back on the chairman, I might be okay with that. But like there's that guy that took away the escalator.
come back on one of our new vice chairs.
No. You took it all at the hotel. They're the
We
best.
swing it like we had escalators, and then this happened.
And then you can't use those seats. Perfect.
It was really because it has to be an anime like it's expect. Therefore, you get puppies. Your brain, and then you come out. That's
Tell us the hair.
That's the arc. So yes, that's sorry for the terrible. Very basic, like they did last year with the first and second, the first two season 4. We had the parts and they were on the schedule. Then COVID delayed it, so they didn't know when they were going to be on the schedule. And when I had talked with them in late August, they still weren't sure when they were going to do it. So sometime between late August and January. Yeah. Yeah, well,
Still flight stairs.
yeah, just depends, like, so you can walk down a couple flights of stairs or just the one flight of stairs.
I was wondering, so I'll have to let the guest of honors know or send the information to their agents. Would somebody be willing to write up a blanket statement of what's going on, or do you?
Yeah, I think we tried out a couple forwarded emails that, and we have content from the highest too.
Well, I mean, if we just wanna, I don't wanna say put it into our words, that's,
Yeah.
they're replacing the escalators,
Or do you want me to just write up something, send it to you guys and have you
you can
review
do
it?
that.
Have to handle this with their teams a little bit differently, with their vendors, with their partners, with their. I wanted to say constituents, that makes no sense, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, once we put it out there on social media, I mean, it's there, I don't know how much vocalization we'll get on there. We'll probably get a few people at least, if not more, but yes, it's not a positive. I don't think most people are gonna type, oh, that's fine, don't worry about it, we got you. They're probably not going to like,
Time that all of the elevators went down and everybody had to go up and down the stairs.
it's,
Tell them that they're in Japan.
Floor down was a lot.
yeah. Certainly not.
Oh, yeah.
With a 6 month construction window, if it had started at any number of months that was gonna impact our event, it would have been super cool if it didn't impact our event at all, but. Yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff that is not super cool about it.
Right, again, we did not have a say in the matter, we were not asked like if we want it to happen or not, so here we are, we'll do a bit, we'll get the stuff to themes, we'll get some social media posts together and. Weather the storm, and they do have signage up if we feel like. We need more signage, we'll just have to make sure that, a lot of, not only, John's teams, but kind of any staff that are relatively visible walking floors, you're gonna, if you're not asked by attendees, if you see people doing the John Travolta meme, you probably want to just be able to kind of help them, point them to stairs, elevators, particularly if we see a long line at the. Oh, I don't know what we call that, the one, the bank of two elevators. We want to let them know that they can use, it's a little bit more of a walk, but let them know they can use the guest elevators that
Right.
was in a bank of six.
Usually have maintenance on staff for the whole weekend.
We talked about, we did concerns.
Have gone down at hotels.
And we brought Tony in on the call to talk about having maintenance more on call than they normally would. Yes. We talked about it's available. We talked about, because it's short notice that a lot of times, harkening back to the DoubleTree when we were kind of having our staff
Man the hotel, they kind of.
man the elevator and say, up to whatever our number was, 5, 6 people, 8, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And saying we might not have the availability of having our people do it, so asking for help on their end to have people do that. Just we're trying to look at whatever we can do to manage the situation so that if the elevator goes down, they have people more readily available, but then figuring out what they can do and we can do to prevent them from breaking down.
Right.
Can we really try and staff to reinforce the op on two on one?
Yeah, we talked about that too.
Situation again, that
Yeah.
has kind of gone lax because of this,
Yep.
because of the escalators, so that.
Yeah, we brought that up to them. They hadn't heard of it or weren't familiar with it, but they seemed to be on board with that. But again, like it will require enforcement and a human to do that. So
That's on the video.
yeah.
If that unsigns in the elevators and in the hallways.
Yeah.
Still are gonna need somebody to.
Yeah. If that helps is it's
Time management.
Are willing to. No,
yeah, because I think they even like I can remember back at the DoubleTree they would bristle and being made to do a grumble.
Would I be able to get access to the housekeeping elevators for the guest of honors then if we're gonna go through all
I don't think
that?
that would be able to use the bank house.
Yeah, the factory.
Check anything.
Because I don't wanna be like telling my guests that they have to get off and.
No, that would be.
Yeah, no, there's just your elevator home, we'll see a little more use. Back in the Belfry, we used to have, like a staff member, volunteers.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, and we were trying to explain to the Hyatt, since we, got
All right, cool, thank you.
late notice about that we might not have the staff availability to do that as often, so we might need some help from them in manning those hours, so hopefully we can make that work.
I was on that meeting and then where the break, it was me handling the breakage at the times. It's like, here's everything we need to do. Please do not let these break off.
Right. Brittany, do you have something?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, can I bring Lisa, the thing?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are, because this was previously kind of an admin covered thing, but we're going to be doing the pronoun ribbons again. Tabletop Gamers is a group that has, they're not attending our event this year. We didn't really get any notice out to them, super early or anything like that. We're looking at building that connection potentially for next year. But they have like some really cool suggestions about what that can look like from like a non-gender perspective to kind of like enable our attendees, and enable us as well. So it's kind of a generic lime green with the she, her, he, him, they, them, and then an insert your own kind of line kind of thing. So 4 different designs. We're looking at that coming from the admin budget. I wanted to pose to department heads, and you can think about this and get back to me within a week if this is something you're interested in. But potentially badge ribbons at, like, if you have a station where you meet the congoers, if there's something that represents you or your department, within a reasonable, safe, healthy way, that still represents the con in a safe, healthy way. We could look at doing badge ribbons, kind of again from the executive and from the admin budgets for those departments. An example of this, that I've seen at another con is that their tabletop table, they have like a roll for success kind of thing. You roll the dice with the con staffer, and then if you beat the con staffer, you've got a badge ribbon. You can do gamify it, you can do cute little ways, but it's a great way for the concourse to engage with your department in some way. If that's something you're interested in, I guess shoot me an email. I'm looking at doing a bulk order for our con. You can do a lot of custom things, and we're looking at going through Marco ribbons at this time. So I don't know, it's just a really cool opportunity of ordering like 200 or 300 of these ribbons, and it's just a cool way to engage with the congoers as a representative of your department or for your staffers as representatives of the con. So that's an idea.
One quick announcement that James, you can now your location and add one to it. It's the easiest way to do it, like Christina and she's did.
Even if it's been approved and accepted.
Yeah, you can just add that extra. So,
That's amazing.
it's the easiest way to do it. Otherwise, like I said, we can just.
Thank you.
Department heads who are here, let your team know. We'll just send out a blanket email to staff so everyone knows to do that.
That's gonna be the most seamless way to get this done. So.
Yeah, 'cause not everybody's here, obviously.
I guess quick question about that. I used that special staff form to just add mine because eventually just wasn't working for my last few staff. So is that gonna?
Even the current link?
Yeah.
Email the chairs of what you want your badge name to be. We
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can add.
Yeah, cool. It was like I just like entered everything manually in the Excel, and then I just used all real names for like everyone just to keep it clear and stuff. But if they want their actual like their tag or anything, then I can let them know.
Okay.
Yep. We'll just send you an email and get that coordinated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and afterwards we can chat. Because I had Ventany open and I have a draft email to send you. So.
So where do we enter the badge name on the application?
You can just go back and edit the application. There's now a field for it. So.
Okay. What's that?
It's the event in the application. So you should be able to go to like an event name, log into your account, log into your application there, and just.
Your event should be shown under there once you sign in, because you had to create an account to sign in. So once you sign in, it shouldn't be your only listed event, unless you're going to a myriad of events through Eventbrite. Then you might have to select.
Go to eventney.com, click on sign in the upper right, hover over your profile icon in the upper right, bottom right. Click on view or where you can see.
Don't forget that left twin at Albuquerque.
Me with them.
Is an Edward. He's a born he's with Harry. He is an born with Nancy.
Yes. Like Christine's response, just send an email.
If you just sent an email with all that information, ask him.
Yeah. So I get decided.
What my password is.
What's the person?
I'm just gonna you can edit your custom quad.
This good.
I can manually sign you in right now.
Oh, figure it out. After he said, "No, we'll talk later."
Yeah, apparently if you loaded the wrong one, you need it. You're easier out there. Yeah.
My God, I tried that.
Alt F5. She clear the trash in browsers.
Apparently was. Social media, all they had was, again, we're in the last 27 days before con, so if you have stuff for social media, try to, I was gonna say try to remember, but here I'm trying to remember. Remember to give them 3 days notice for when you want stuff posted, so just let them know. Keep that timeline in mind. Photography, Amanda, what do you have?
As of right now, we have fully submitted our program submission. Right now we're kind of just all working on getting to know each other since the team is full of diverse people from different areas with different levels of experience. We want to get together to practice using the flashes. They also want to do a tour of the Hyatt so that we can get some other photo opportunity locations mapped out that aren't necessarily within the studio. That's pretty much all we have right now. Everybody's registered and waiting on details about what the room situation looks like and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Okay, and then I think the last comment to go over. One of our favorite people is here is Colton
Oh, what's up, Hal?
because he's gonna feed us. He is in our new consuite, so if everybody hasn't met Colton, Colton's here in the front row.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm
The
embarrassed.
promised savior has arrived.
What do you have anything from us?
I'm doing the quick run probably mid this week or the week after. I'm gonna meet up with the local and some other people in Nicollet, tell them about events. And staff will be finally signed up by the end of this week or mid next week.
Okay.
It's about 8 people.
If department heads, if you haven't seen the food request spreadsheet, it did go out. So if you had items that you needed to get on there, I assume you should have gotten them on there.
Department heads, you mentioned you only have 8 people. I'm scared for that. That sounds so small, but like.
Don't worry about it.
If anyone is still, I know a couple people have sent emails that they're still in need of people, reach out to social media. There's no reason that you can't try to get people on your staff team. Now that registration is closed, there are going to be people that still want to go to the con, are willing to work those 12 hours, and will work your team just to get that badge to go. So like in terms of like outreach, this is a great opportunity for last minute recruitment for some of those big at-con like needs that we're going to have for staff. Yes, we're going to get at-con volunteers, but this is a great opportunity for us to really, in that crunch time, create long-lasting staff.
Yeah.
So practice on the meeting post, send it on over, get it posted.
You know, we also have a piece of art that says, you know, like join staff that we can use if you need staff.
Yeah.
You know, let us know so that we know that you are a department that needs it. Obviously, we know that safety does. So it's a collaborative effort. We want to know that you are one that does need staff, so that it's not just a generic join staff, so that we can kind of chisel that down. So along the lines of what Brittany's saying is you can also use your methods to try and find staff at the same time. You know, we're using our staff exchanges to try and do that. We're also trying to do things from, the convention level to try and find staff and then send them to the departments that need them. But if you're trying to find them on your own for your department, then we're kind of trying to attack it from all fronts at the same time. And then if anybody has any other ideas of how to find staff, either for department,
Swap for
that's what we've. Yeah, I mean it's.
It's a matter of like, if you have connections, you're welcome to like
Yeah.
build those connections with other cons. But like in the same vein, like this is the time in which we should have done a lot of that much earlier. This is a great opportunity for us to reach out to our community, so
Yeah.
and to like kind of create those connections.
That is good for departments. What? Oh, well, I had you written down. I had you after social, and then I
Oh,
skipped it.
here, well, is there anyone who's in this room who wants to join for safety? They need staff.
Please,
and do your trainings. The radio training.
There.
you're out training.
Get your notes.
If you don't. Okay.
Do you have anything for the group either? Hope.
No,
Okay.
no, just what I sent you.
Yep.
Have we heard about the business cards?
You're going to have them.
Yeah.
Things I think they hadn't
Just
been
like say.
finalized.
Basically like contact cards, so that when they talk, then they can give them.
Because the printing is pretty fast. We looked up a lot of the resources through FedEx and Canva, and there was a couple different designs. I think it was just sent to the chair team for approval a week or two ago. So we'll look at like making sure that gets finalized if it hasn't been yet.
And if you run out, the one at the FedEx at the building can print more.
That's a good point. Yeah. Sign up, they're pretty fast.
I think
They shouldn't be.
I don't think they're staffed, but I think you can get in there.
So that's a staff for certain hours, or that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So like, some of it will be locked on the gate, so you can't get to it, but the copiers.
You can send stuff to it. Funny, do you have any? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
More about the
Are you aware of anybody that hasn't done a room set?
Oh, yeah, that's probably important.
Yeah. If you haven't done a room set as a
Okay,
department,
yeah, well, because I sent it to her already. It's gonna be approved and finished and complete on Monday. I'm calling BS on because they made so many changes that we had to,
right?
yeah.
No, we
So,
when we met yesterday, the executives brief emergency meeting covering the room parties, and then that email chain from them about keys and room sets. Yeah, we kind of covered a little bit of that. Like,
it'd be,
yeah. So if you have not turned in your room set, that's a spreadsheet or link that you sent?
I sent out probably a link to it is a spreadsheet.
Okay.
But yeah.
Make sure
Okay.
you
January 27th or something like that.
27th, 28th. Make sure that you have done that.
Edit from your email address for Detour.
Yeah. On that.
Yeah, so this kind of leads to one of my topics for video gaming. I never got any of this, so that helps a lot. So
We don't know on stages.
Okay.
We won't know until he's finished as to whether they have enough stage parts.
I have repeatedly said exactly the number I need.
For all
In all of my maps that I have shown it, you can count the squares.
Oh, okay.
That's not a metaphorical. That is a literal. Each one of those squares is a single 8x8.
16 piece. I'll double check. Oh, would that be?
And then 2 for the back.
Is that owned by the hotel or is that owned by?
Yes.
Yeah, hotel. Okay. What's their
Starts
building?
Yeah.
I think
They'll cover that. You know how many pieces do you need? No, not
Oh yeah, I said two
two
stages.
stages, but I mean, how many pieces of this?
I didn't know any options.
Chat about that after, because I also have no clue. No clue.
One of the last things we have is one of the things that we talked about, I think at the last meeting, was, as far as it had been operating for, department heads and how we're getting staffed to you is, it's been a little bit broken with Eventney. So we're fixing that. It's just right now we're currently limited with the amount of, I don't know if they're licensed, basically the number of managers that we're allowed to have within Eventney. So we did just have a meeting last week, Thursday or something. With our Eventney rep, so they're gonna install that. So the way that we are wanting that to look, so hopefully that's the way that you guys want it to look, or hopefully that will work for you guys. Is that these people would apply, they would go into that pool and you would see that they request their 3 departments or however many, and then you guys would go out there and find the people. That's rather than us assigning them to you, that you guys would go out there and kind of pull from that. So then there wouldn't be, how did I get this person? That sort of thing, if that makes sense. Just, I think we only had a couple of manager licenses. They're kind of limited by the initial sort of startup limitations. So they're,
It's a you get what you pay for kind of program, and so it's a matter of like investing in all the different channels that we can use this tool. It's similar to like how some businesses use, say, like Salesforce for like delegating information. They're limited to the number of accounts they can create, upload, and post.
But there was no issue with us getting more of them, so that you guys have the ability to do that, so streamline that onboarding process for you and your department. Otherwise, it just complicates things. So
Yeah, it's tech upgrades. It's complicated.
Is there a way that the department heads, we can actually see who we have in our staff?
sure, that's
That's exactly, once we get that manager or like whatever those authorizations
Or
are.
can we request it from you?
Yes, if you need.
Yeah.
Could you
What do we have right now?
could you send that who I have?
Yeah, because we have for my departments like a graphic email and a screenshot of who is currently listed.
Sure, 23 or 28 ranks.
Okay.
yeah, what we
Or
would like to do.
whatever, can you just send me who I have? That'd be great. Thank you.
Might be kind of addressing sort of that. You're just not being. It's not possible. In the fashion that we go, I don't know, the most optimal fashion. And I think the way that we would like to address that, so that we kind of have everybody placed where they're going to work the best, is make sure that department heads look over their staff list and make sure that they have the people that they're familiar with, supposed to have, and in the numbers that they need. If you need 20 people, we don't want you to have 37 people. And if you need, 37 people, we don't want you to have 12 people.
Why are you staring at me?
I didn't mean to, but just, we want to make sure that those numbers balance out, and with the way that it was kind of set up, there's bound to be those numbers off kilter. So if you don't have necessarily the workload to have everybody, I don't want to say stay busy, but if it's just not going to work out for those numbers, then we want to make sure that we can place those people in some other departments that do need them. And if they've listed 2 or 3 other departments that they were interested in, to get them shifted over. If they did only list 1 department, but that department's kind of had its max, then we want to circle back to that person and say, is there another department that you would be interested in? So we want to just make sure that everybody's kind of slotted where needed, preferred, in the next couple of weeks here, so that everything's kind of balanced where it needs to be, once the con hits, just because it wasn't set up in the most optimal manner for, we started taking the application.
Future, with this software, a cool thing that we can do is create cutouts and actually create like limitations for what these staff apps look like. For example, like say you are for the entirety of the year up until day before con taking applicants, okay, versus someone who has a fully rounded out staff team, like 2 weeks into pre-con planning. Then we will have the option of say graying out the box for people to select like your staffing, or if that changes, then you can open it back up again, and then we can kind of supersede those like auto forwarded requests that nobody needs to see, and then we can fulfill the departments where we really need people throughout the year. So I'm like, this is gonna be a great tool going forward. It's just, we're not fully utilizing it yet, because we kind of just have an initial package tool for it.
Yeah. I think the only other thing is, we made some additional, tweaks with the Girl Scout stuff. They're giving us a QR code. We've got that off to themes, so people will be able to order cookies with the QR code, pick them up at the booth. We'll do some social media promoting of that. That was also yesterday, so I think that is
Do you, Troy,
Hmm?
Max, do you know, which food trucks the High is gonna have? What food stations they're gonna have around yet? They have the walking tacos.
Yeah, I think it was. I think you specified chicken for some reason.
Oh.
I can see if they changed that because I mean I was more into the phrasing. Yes, I hear you. I finally caught myself before I said something stupid. That's like the first time in 8 years.
Well, if it was directed at me, that's fine.
No. It was just something dumb was going to come out of my mouth, and I caught it, and I was surprised. It's a rare occurrence.
I have a question about volunteers if we run back to that eventually.
What? What about volunteers?
Volunteers, yeah. So I wasn't aware that we needed to also staff our department for someone at the door. So when I asked about that, I was still curious.
Yeah.
So I was like wondering, is that still like a general like detour? There's volunteer staff that have people posted at doors at certain times, or
So we
what's
can
kind of going on?
Yeah.
How it works.
Okay.
I was gonna say, cause I've had the benefit of many seasoned staff who already handled that, and I didn't know that was part of the transitional process, that was a thing that needed to be handled, and it's like totally makes sense and is, yes, something that, cause we badge for everything at, anything that is not a public space for the hotel is a thing that needs to be badged for, because that's how we actually like mitigate convoys. That's how we mitigate access to spaces. Yeah, so that's how we kind of like prevent convention ghosting and like keep that safe for like the convoyers and
That was next.
Yeah.
So because gaming is 24 hours, I just needed more like information on what can we do late night hours and stuff because you already know how it goes. Late night, people walking around with drinks in their hand, stuff like that. And then after the safety training, don't put your hands on people, liabilities and stuff. I just need more information and what we can do in like situations for handling like that.
That's totally fair. We're still developing what the at-con on-call situation looks like. The executive team will be operating essentially in like a 24 hours kind of thing for the convention, so that we will always be here as primary decision makers and first line of defense or whatever. But we'll work on getting you connections to safety as well on that.
Oh no, I'm just like mentioning the safety training was good and saying like, don't put your hands on people because of liabilities and stuff like that. Because it gets rowdy at night, especially in gaming. I've been there years, like stuff happens. So
Okay, back to what Kim was asking. So what I have for food trucks is we have chicken, tacos, pizza by the slice, boneless wings, and barbecue pork sandwich, pretzel bun, two top. I'm sure I can have them leave that garbage on. Obviously, then chips, candy, canned soda, bottle soda, Rockstar, and Red Bull, and a cookie. As far as the sort of lower priced special enemy detour offerings in the restaurant, they have a house ramen bowl with char siu pork, vegetable egg rolls with sweet and sour sauce, sweet and sour chicken over white rice. Those are those three options.
Detroit, yeah. Pizza's usually pretty cheap. How much is a slice of pizza?
It's I know exactly. It's
Probably $10.
well, Kim tells me it's $10. Well, Kim said it's $10.
Okay. Pizza's $10.
Kim's our money person, and I would never disagree with Kim. She said $10, so it's got to be $10. I believe it's $10 based on the number I see here and what Kim said.
That'd be some good pizza.
So,
$10 seemed to be the.
Yeah. You just go off site. You just look at the disapproving look on Colton's face. So there is the next. We
Restaurant's gonna be open 4 hours this year.
talk to them and then make sure. I know that last year they had some impact based on
First year.
yeah back, and I think they were still probably like a lot of us. That double check. I know that they were probably still experiencing. I don't think that they had ordered the. They may have either ordered the same amount of food, or and then our unexpected increase, or they may not have ordered as much food, and supply chain issues combined with our increase in attendance kind of created.
Yeah, they just seem to have less hours last year.
Yeah, they
They weren't open on Thursday and weren't open on.
Now we may find I'll have to see what, particularly with it being I know they usually have truncated hours on Sunday anyway, which we've had to try and work around, but also with it being Easter Sunday. Let's see. In terms of sponsorships, we picked up a couple. I don't know if you want to talk about the one, Brittany, or do you want me to talk? I like it when you talk, so we can do that.
Oh my
Can
god.
you sing it? Okay.
So we have. I think it's.
I thought you were just saying in general, and it's like, well, I like them. We don't have to poison them.
We have arsenic. No, excuse me. No, we do not have arsenic. Sorry, we have arsenic cyanide sponsoring some of our VIP offerings. With that, it's a similar to what we saw at AMP, but more custom detour style. They're cool flat brim, like that kind of things. I'm super excited. We're looking at expanding what those VIP offerings look like. We also had a new high cap for our sponsors this year. And it's astounding because we still kept getting requests for it. So next year we should look at expanding what that program looks like, creating partnerships, creating sponsorships. I'm currently working with some representatives from IKEA to try to see what that looks like for our convention going forward. This is just an initiation of a partnership. This could mean donations to ATC. This could mean donations towards Anime Detour, and helping us with some of our like furnishings of our space allocations when we find a new home.
Partnership with IKEA have a full name.
Okay, so the partnership panel is NordOrg, which is Nerd Organization. Nord is Swedish for nerd. Yep. Really, it's good. Okay. At this point, what we're looking at for the panel offerings to our congoers is just some sort of generic giveaway. We are finalizing those stipulations on Monday, and I will get back to you guys on what that looks like. But going forward, that partnership could mean a lot for a lot of different departments. So if you have any ideas, insights, or things that you think are opportunities within IKEA, reach out to me. Currently, there's no one else in charge of. We will. There's no one else in charge of specific convention sponsorships. They are handled by the executive team, but it is the department that we're looking at expanding for next year. So if you have ideas, feedback, feel free to bring it to us. We have our classic sponsorships back. Right stuff. Okay.
Yeah, right stuff. Slam, Crunchyroll.
Crunchyroll, right? So that's my notion.
Color Row.
Yeah. We did do a sponsored partnership with the Parkway Theater. That might lead to some additional stuff down the road. We do have one that we're still sorting out, finalizing. Period. Moving on to a separate topic. I don't know if anybody's ever gone to any of the Ghibli Fest, but that's completely unrelated to my previous sentence. So there's that. Let's see. We did establish one. I think that was also that might have been Thursday. Sorry, it's been a week. With Pizza Luce. They a couple of different options. They we can, wow, there you go.
to our convention.
No, obviously, you have no real words anyway.
We make money for our next year of the convention for ATC with our badges, but sponsorships create like intrinsic value for our concourse at event, and those sponsorships have a varying degree of like what they mean for our con. Every department is capable of having guests of honor, of actual sponsors for their areas. Some of you have seen like certain conventions sponsor for other conventions if it's something that they run. Sometimes a gaming convention sponsors for an anime convention gaming space. Sometimes a theater group sponsors main stage events for, even though we're not just main stage focused, that's a feature of our convention. So if you're looking at building those partnerships as a department head, please do. Please forward any of those potential partnerships to your executive team so we can build and create what that sponsorship deck can look like, because we don't have anything set in stone yet. It's kind of just whatever benefits we can bring to the team is forgotten.
Yeah, for instance, like with the Parkway Theater, they played a slide that Sherry from Themes put together for the movies. So drawing people to Detour. And so, for instance, like when we're bringing in places like Pizza Luce or something like that, in terms of a sponsorship, we might use their money to help fund the gaming area. So some of that cost is defrayed. We can have additional offerings that offset some of our line items.
These are things to think about in the next budget cycle too. Obviously, we are at that point of the sun. We are at that point of certain features. Well, let's think about how we can compensate.
Arsenic hexcyanide, in that partnership, what they were able to do for us is increase the offerings of our VIP offering through that sponsorship. So a hat, like cloth tote bag and things like that. And then so each one of the sponsors will get a coupon from Pizza Luce. They also have a gift card that they're going to give to volunteer department for them to use. And then for our volunteer appreciation party, they will donate up to 10 large pizzas for us when we do that, when we figure out a location to do that.
I'm sorry, what?
When we have our normal, like, how we do our staff, either we could do that or our staff postmortem we do, like when we normally have food. Like last year we had pizza, but we did Domino's. So if we were upgrading, we could do that.
We want to improve staff morale, so
Right.
We have a lot of opinions about it.
Stuff is going to provide about 150 lanyards for the VIPs. Yeah, so just utilizing a lot of those mutually beneficial sponsors. One of the things I forgot what.
Okay, we can talk about it next time when we meet.
It's hardcore.
I have stuff I need to.
You have stuff. You have other stuff you want to cover?
Yeah, to go.
Yeah, I think that might that's probably it then. Because now she made me nervous.
Any other last minute announcements that you want to?
JC.
Not just question. Do we know when staff hotel rooms are going to be determined and sent out? My question.
Yes, that is that's
We're
getting that question every single time.
Oh, we were overwhelmed at our last executive meeting with all the last minute changes from the hotel, and we ended up time sinking into problem solving those. So we apologize. We meant to have those out and established and set in stone last week, but it will have to be a Monday, Tuesday concept.
Yeah, it's really we knew that it was right simultaneously with the registration stuff. Then those are kind of our big ticket items for right now. So we have the list of the staff rooms that came from me. I have the list of the staff block for the people that lived in there. So we are going to take that, put it here, and then probably keep a few spare empty rooms in case of emergencies that come up at the hotel. And then we will release the other rooms to the general public this weekend. Because we were doing some work on it. I was working on the suite block portion of that. We have a few of them booked, two of them booked. We'll be releasing the rest of those this weekend. Now, that's not the suites that are in the room party block, it's the other gianter suites. So we will be releasing those to the general block, doing a social media post on those that people can book those. Those are the more expensive ones. If you do happen to want one of those, let me know. The really expensive one, like the
Not the presidential, the bigger ones, not the room party.
yeah, not the executive suites that are part of the room party block. So the room party block has, when that starts, they have 31 of the executive suites. What doesn't get assigned to room parties, then staff can book those before we'll put those in the general block, and then the attendees can book those. Otherwise, there are 11 other types of suites that are larger. There's like 5 VIPs on the 24th floor, etc. They are more more costly than the executive suite. So if that is something that you want, let me know and we'll slot you in for one of those. Otherwise, we're going to release those to the general public this weekend with a post. So now that those suites are taken care of, we're still, room parties has their final list. Obviously, we ran into a little wrinkle yesterday with room parties. The next step on those is to find out which staff want those executives. I know there's 3 staff that have those, then we would release the rest of those. So, and then just sliding those staff event rooms into the staff block, releasing the rest of those. And that was kind of those 2 big things was registration and that. And then, like Brittany said, her and Kristen are working on the staff badges portion of that. So a lot happening, but yeah, we have not forgotten and they're not working. But so
Follow-up question.
Yes.
Some of my staff are worried that they're not going to get a room. Is that a concern at all? Or okay.
I know the numbers. We combine unless we suddenly take on, I would say, 210 more staff in the next few days. So
I can assure people that they will get
yes.
It's just not.
Yes.
Feel free to reach out to your vice chair, cross-verify. We can literally screenshot what we have entered and verify with you.
When we
That's what I'm trying to do through my process.
When we as an executive team decided how many rooms to put in the staff block over and above what was put in there last year, we did that with the intention of being able to offer the staff rooms we are now over and with a healthy buffer. So that's why we're able to say that confidently. That way we will have some to release back to the general public. So we wanted to make sure that staff had rooms. And Antonio had something?
It was that same question.
Wow.
Because there's wasn't sure.
And it was quicker on the draw. Anything else?
Raise my hand.
I saw, but then I thought I caught her first, so sorry about that. Something.
The process, and has the process changed for, some of us who actually move into the hotel Wednesday?
No, I mean, obviously there are some staff that are going to need, our goal is to have the staff that need to be in the hotel. That's the goal. We want people to have a room. We want them to be able to be rested. Obviously not to be generic or vague, but there are going to have to be some sharings of rooms. We don't want it to be 15 people in a room.
Oh my gosh.
But
Safety has.
yes, Lauren.
That only applies to the people who filled out that they wanted to do room shares.
Yes, that would be for room share. If
So we already booked our room.
you booked a room, you are
In
in staff.
We're going to
one happy because Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday. But even after now, Wednesday.
Yeah.
And there wasn't an option.
Yeah, it's some languages a bit. Yeah, some of the language is a bit interchangeable because we talk about block room block, Annually Detour's contract block in the Hyatt is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's our thing. Friday and Saturday, we have the entirety of the hotel, so all of the rooms. Thursday, we have a limited number of rooms, and Sunday, we have a smaller number of rooms, which we should each year reevaluate and increase as necessary. So if we need more staff in the hotel or more artists or more vendors or whatever it might be, then each year we should amend that contract. So if instead of needing 150 rooms on Thursday and 40 on Sunday, that we increase that so that those rooms cannot be booked obviously by normies, that it's all ours, and that we are guaranteed that many rooms. Subsequently, if we find that we need 10 rooms or 12 rooms or whatever it might be on Wednesday, that we would add them to the contract. It would have to be in a number that we were convinced that it doesn't have to be on that day that we sell them. It just has to be the total of number of nights that we sell over that 5-day span. So we wouldn't want to overshoot it. We have to make sure that we're comfortable selling those amount of rooms. But we should continue to do that each year. That if we need nights, we put in for those nights so that we have them for staff. So yes, if staff.
We just never want to be like certain comms that have had the issue of having to ask people to give up rooms to allot rooms for their appropriate guests or vendors. We want to actually plan for those things and account for those things and establish a safe threshold for those things.
So I have a lot of staff in this room. I believe. I just wanted to ask a question, just I see no stones or tomatoes out there, so I'm just curious. What we've seen a number of conventions do when they get to a certain point is they would shift their staffing rooms, or at least a predominant number of their staffing rooms, from their primary event hotel to a neighboring hotel. What are
No,
I think one of the reasons why I'm so enticed to have a staff room is so that I can be on site and close to my equipment where I can easily go in and out and store it conveniently.
That's why people request a third or fourth floor suites, is because, or even just a room on the floor. It's so good stuff. You get a call like, hey, I need help downstairs. That's it, or anybody can run down there.
Yeah. Very close for
20 floors.
in and out, little breaks, things like that. That's what makes it so convenient.
I would just lift your stuff to the side and put them in a different hotel.
Some conventions do have allocation at multiple hotels, and with those allocations, it's like safer, more convenient for them to have all their staff walking another way. I don't think it's like a legitimate question. I think based on our allocation to the current hotel and how we haven't really expanded anything utilitarian to another space. If we were to do that, say a certain program was always in the Millennium or something like that, or say a certain program, say we're a convention center hotel, right? And something was at hotel, something we're at the convention center. This would be a super relevant question. This is more like a gauge of interest kind of, hey, does this matter to you now? If it matters to you now, good.
I think it all depends on the department too.
Just want to say, I think that too, I mean, when we were at Doubletree and Short Tower, I was always Staff Tower, which for many of us was a walk across the entire hotel. But it was nice because we knew the other people in that area and it felt almost safer.
Elevators go way
right.
I mean, I do think it is department specific, just like the conversations about pre-con hours, at-con hours, all of that kind of thing. And so, very valid. Like, I know we've had, even while at the new hotel, some of our staff have had hotel rooms in the Millennial, and they were like, yes, please, because it's just generally quiet.
I was gonna say, like, some people do like that. So, just to pose the interest for potentially next year, should we have a staff block in another? Would that appeal to some people?
For next year, possibly, yeah.
Oh yeah. The concepts that I've seen, like I'm saying, is like twofold. Is it can be department specific, and then oftentimes what happens is sometimes they take a heavier customer service thread and say, okay, in order to get more attendees in the hotel, then staff do a little bit more sacrificing and they go into the next hotel so that they can get more people into, and that's doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it, that all staff have to be out of that hotel. It's dependent on how they look at it, which departments they want to be in there, but I mean, I would say that legitimately you could say that, well, don't all staff have a pretty good case to be in the event hotel? I mean, I would say so. So, but if we start, you start to grow and things like, it's just something to consider. And then if we start to look at adding programming at some point into that hotel, then would that staff be in that hotel? It's just,
Well, and it also makes sense just that with the Millennium being a skyway, walk away. It's not like we're talking going to Sheridan.
Eric?
Strictly never happened because I would talk to our partners at Cotke Bus Service and get shut on these hotel. Thank you, Mike.
Either before or after going multi-campus, because obviously that would be our next step in growth before going to the convention center.
Like preface this with depending on what this year looks like.
Yeah.
Obviously, no one could have predicted what last year looked like. Because we were all floored at 7K plus attendance. That was the time. We don't know what this is going to look like.
I know how much you.
5109.
5109. Okay.
Jesus. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Right. And a lot of times there's a metric of frighteningly, a lot of them just say double. If you double your pre-reg, that's what you can expect to see in person. I don't like, for panicky reasons, to do that math. So,
Wonder, Nate, what happened to that 30-70 math we've been talking about the last few years?
well, and I think we saw that a little bit last year, or more than that. But I think we also thought, well, because again, like the pre-reg last year fell very much in line with most of our previous years. So where we thought we were probably going to see maybe a little bit of a decrease based on kind of a return to COVID and from COVID, some of those restrictions. The fact that we saw a large increase wasn't
I was
expected.
gonna say I was actually not that surprised that we had such an increase because we were, like we've always talked about, like the beginning and end of the con season.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Post pandemic, we're a family convention, we're a safe space, we had increased protocol, all of that kind of stuff. I was like, this makes sense. Oh God, this is gonna suck, but this makes sense.
I think what I was looking at is that there was some conventions that took place just in February where that they were coming back and under the same restrictions, and they're a little bit larger conventions than us, and they were seeing slight decreases. So I thought, well, since we're just 6 weeks later, so would it make no. I thought we would maybe see a slight decrease, and like there wasn't, we couldn't have prepared for it since there was nothing in the pre-reg to help us prepare for that. So now we've seen an increase, but historically Anime Detour had always been really predominantly a pre-reg con,
Because
where a lot of other anime cons were sort of the inverse of us, where they were like 30% pre-reg and 70% walk-up, which is, in my opinion, unless you have like heavy reliance on your seed money, is not a optimal financial model because you're constantly waiting for those registrations to come in.
From a sales perspective, like it's hard to predict. It's harder to predict growth with those sort of conventions. With ours having like kind of this established like culture of in previous history of Detour, like those calf years, we have established kind of a more consistent mindset of what our registration looks like.
Essentially, in those calf years, where we are 100% pre-reg, so I think we were starting at some point to see a little bit of a shift from a heavy reliance on pre-reg to a little bit more. And I don't know if it's a generational thing or what it is. I have no other further explanation other than these numbers are saying this thing. So I think that's a little bit where we're at, but. We will do our best this year. I just wanted to see kind of what the thoughts are. As obviously, I think our next step in the growth in previous years would be to start using some of the programming spaces at the Millennium. Obviously, we would incorporate all your guys' opinions into what those would best be used for. We don't have any additional thoughts on there's programming space over there. What to put into that, or even if it wasn't, let's say, programming space, if we utilize that for,
No, it's all programming space.
well, I mean, make more sense to put some sort of administrative stuff over there. Yes, you can put, you know,
About expanding, right? Like what we offer in terms of our programming can mean a myriad of things. Maybe we start offering specific cosplay workshop throughout the entirety of the month. Maybe we bring like a greatly expanded like tournament base for tabletop or video gaming. What this could mean is like changing how we view our spaces and what that expansion means. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll see what looks forward towards, but to foster conversations about it in the
are
future.
you calling dibs on the space, Tom?
No, this is official open time. I've been asked a few times, really, official Friday open time. Like, when can we expect like the con is like open?
Registration.
Yeah, as far as like open programming time, times your first panel, JC?
First panel is 12:30, but like the May can be the 11.
So it's right around that 11-ish, 12-ish
What
hour.
I told people is like
What time do you want to open up gaming?
honestly connect
Gaming is
line. So like some people are like, okay, how long do you sit?
Next registration opens at, James, you said 9.
gaming we'd always shot for noon. Just
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
What time you're open, DJ? Noon. So yeah, it's probably the times, moving in ahead of the department and kind of thing. Like if they're still working on setting up some of the games and stuff like that, I mean, you might not have it at 100% every game set up. I mean that's fine. But that's kind of what we shoot for, like the highest percentage of stuff being open and things like that.
Yeah, it was more of like the effort we were the programming guide too, because like we were trying to finalize that. So
Yeah.
it just kind of helps if you were ever minutes with
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. I thought, like, initially when we were talking about this, everything had to be based around opening ceremony. And then everyone was like, no, dude, that has max capacity. The con is so much more than that.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, fine, just me then. Like,
Right.
Never mind, time is opening ceremony.
is it one? Excuse me, I thought it was 1:30. My fault.
Three. Did you just say 3?
2 to 3.
Oh, you're on 2 fingers. 2 fingers. And I was like, what, man? I didn't hear him say 2, 2, 3. I heard him say 3. So then 2 o'clock. And I think that allowed us some flexibility in adding another panel. So any other questions? Otherwise, we can close the meeting and get to the meetings after the meeting. Yeah. Thank you. Is there anything else in chat?
Nothing else in chat.
Nothing recently.
Oh,
We're gonna be adjourned.
Awesome. If there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and close the meeting. Thank you to everybody who joined us online. We'll see us back later. Thank you everybody for joining us in person.
It's 90 minutes, Troy. Next meeting's. No one anymore. It's literally been sitting there and no one's touched it for years. So